Hi angels, it's Haley Reese and welcome back to my part 2 of my whole Annabelle experience thanks to Warner Brothers Canada. For those of you who might not have watched my first video in this particular series, Warner Brothers Canada flew me out to Connecticut to have the full Annabelle experience and to watch the first exclusive screening of Annabelle Comes Home, which, by the way, released to theaters June 26th, which means it is now in a theater near you. I will have a link down in the description where you guys can go and purchase your Annabelle tickets. It is so good. I keep saying it, but I'm not gonna spoil it for you guys. You guys just gotta go see it yourselves. But on top of that, Warner Brothers actually allowed us to go to the Warrens Occult Museum and meet the real Annabelle, which is what you guys saw in the last video. As I mentioned in that particular video, there was so much footage that I accumulated over the whole entire day because Warner Brothers didn't just bring us to the Occult Museum. They didn't just have us go to the movie screening. It was a full day of really exciting things, and that is where we land today in part 2 of that video. So you guys saw me go to the movie theater, and then you guys saw me go to the Warrens Occult Museum, but in between, we got to go to kind of like a hall type space, grab some food, have some drinks, and hear some more stories from Tony Spera, which is the husband of Judy Warren, who is the daughter of Ed and Lorraine Warren. Now, Tony had worked alongside Ed and Lorraine Warren for quite some time, and he shared some really interesting stories, but on top of that, some really chilling footage of real exorcisms. One of which that was performed by Ed and Lorraine Warren, and the other was Tony and Lorraine Warren. Now, I want to give a very quick but very important trigger warning to you guys as far as the contents that you're about to see in this video. This subject matter is very dark. I am going to be showing you real footage that was obtained by Ed and Lorraine Warren and Tony and Lorraine Warren, and I'm going to be sharing this raw, real footage with you guys. So if you're somebody who doesn't want to see anything like that, or maybe is triggered by anything religious in that aspect, perhaps this isn't the video for you. And later on in the video, I am going to be placing a second trigger warning because there is a section in the video that talks about suicide and death. So if you're not interested in that part, like I said, there will be a trigger warning right before that part of the video begins, but I do want to let you guys know that this is real exorcism footage. It is a dark subject matter, so just proceed with that in mind. And I can't wait for you guys to see this video. Now, the very first piece of footage that I'm going to share with you guys is the first of 2 exorcisms I'm going to share with you, and there is a poltergeist later on in this as well, so there's lots of Ed and Lorraine Warren footage. I'm so excited over it. But this particular exorcism is one that Tony and Lorraine Warren went out to, and it's really, really nauseating to me in a sense with what's being said and the way that the individual who's possessed is communicating. So I'm going to roll the clip now and share that with you guys. Here it is.
What is this, Roberto? What is this? What is that? What is that, Roberto? Seriously, what is that? Tell me what that is. This is the power right here, Roberto. You don't have any power. Remember that. You have no power. 0 power. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. This is the power, Jesus Christ. Okay? You hear me? Jesus Christ has all the power. You have none. What is your name?
What is your name?
Jesus Christ commands you to answer that question.
What is your
name? What is your name?
Beelzebub.
You saying Beelzebub? Beelzebub? Is that what you're saying? Beelzebub?
There's more.
Who else? What other entity is inside you? God is commanding you. In the name of Jesus Christ, and all the saints, and all the martyrs, and all the angels command you to answer that question. What is it?
Abaddon.
Abaddon. Okay, who else? Who else is within you? Answer the question. Say it again. Okay, who else? In the name of Jesus Christ, all the saints. Go ahead. I can't make it out. Say that again. Why are you in Roberto? Why are you there with Roberto? Jesus Christ doesn't like demonic spirits within a human spirit. Jesus Christ hates demonic spirits to be within a human being. Do you know that? You hate Jesus, huh?
So as you guys could see, that was very dark. It actually was a longer clip as well, but I just cut it where I chose to cut it. He gets in like this strange, like almost crab-like position and curls up in the wall, and it's just really creepy. But that is essentially one of the exorcisms that Tony shared with us. Now this next one, Tony's going to begin by letting you guys know the history of the individual and explaining the exorcism tape that you're about to see. After that clip, it's going to roll right on into the exorcism tape. And one thing that I want to note is that during the exorcism, when you look closely, it looks as though he's salivating at the mouth, and when it falls, it turns to blood as it hits his shirt. This is really chilling stuff, you guys, so I'm just going to let Tony take it away and share the backstory, and then it's going to go straight into the exorcism tape.
Ed and Lorraine Warren back in 1986. It's the Maurice Theriault exorcism case. And there's a book written about it called Satan's Harvest, which goes over the entire case. You can still buy that book on Amazon to reprint. But Ed and Lorraine got called out to Massachusetts, Warren, Massachusetts. And what it was a case of a gentleman, farmer, from Warren, Massachusetts, named Maurice Theriault, 42 years old, who would at times come under diabolical possession. And he had numerous exorcisms performed over him. The one you're going to see tonight is the final exorcism that he had performed by Bishop Robert McKenna, who was a bishop of the traditional Catholic Church. Now, people who are familiar with the Roman Catholic faith know that after Vatican II in the 60s, the traditional Catholic Church broke away from Vatican II Council. And what that meant was that they were no longer going to perform the Mass in Latin. The new Mass would have English, it would have different prayers, and it would also have, handshake of peace and love. A little different than a traditional Catholic Mass, but Bishop McKenna was from the traditional old church. And there is a cemetery that we're going to go to called Stepney. Right next to it is the Our Lady of the Rosary Chapel. That is where Bishop McKenna performed many exorcisms. And now there's a Father Rodriguez there from the traditional church. But Maurice wasn't exorcised at the church. Maurice was exorcised at his home up in Warren, Mass. by Bishop Robert McKenna. He drove up there with Ed and Lorraine. And Maurice had a bad childhood. What you're going to see now, though, is the 8-minute or so exorcism. Now, it was done in 1986. There wasn't any digital photography back then. You guys are kind of young. But I remember wanting to buy a VHS camera for myself, and I couldn't afford it because it was about $2,800 for the camera with the side pack with a big VHS tape in it. Low resolution. It's not anything like today. So when you see it, you'll see it's grainy, but it's reality, it's real. The police officer from Bristol, Roger, he bought that VHS player and he wanted to use it, and Ed said, why don't you bring it to the exorcism, maybe the priest will let us do it, and he did. Let him film it. The beginning, you're going to see Maurice just sitting in a chair, speaking to one of our investigators named Al, and Al's just talking normally, and Maurice is not under any possession. Then you'll see Maurice standing up, and you'll even hear Ed Warren in the background saying, point it out, Maurice, lift up your shirt. And he lifts up his t-shirt and he exposes these cross-like marks that would appear on his chest and on his back. You're going to see that. It looks almost like someone took a small scalpel and made an X on his back and on his chest. Those would appear spontaneously to Maurice. Maurice would also bleed from no point of origin. He'd bleed from his tear ducts, he'd bleed from his nose, his mouth, randomly. Also, when he came under diabolical possession, he would experience supernatural strength. You know, he'd be stronger than any man in here. He could lift up the front end of a Chevy pickup truck long enough for somebody to change a tire when he called on the spirits. That's how strong this 5'6", 150-pound guy could be. So that's the kind of phenomena you look for in a demonically or diabolically possessed individual. People will say, well, how do you know the guy's possessed? How do you know he's not mentally ill? Well, number one is they could be both. They could be mentally ill and possessed. Or they could be just mentally ill or just possessed. But how would you know the possession part? By physical outward manifestations. That is, speaking in tongues. You know, he had a third grade education, but he could speak in Latin to the priest. Supernatural strength, that's another one. Aversion to religious artifacts and objects, anything religious or spiritual, that's another way. Foul odors emanating from around the person, levitation of the person, that is how you would know someone is not mentally ill but diabolically possessed. So you can see that part where he lifts up his shirt. The next part, he could be sitting in a chair. There'll be 4 investigators behind him, volunteer investigators standing behind him, watching Maurice in case he goes for the priest. They don't know what he's going to do, so they all stand there as guards. He is sitting in the chair. You'll see spittle start to come out of his mouth. Turns to blood when it hits his white t-shirt. You'll see his face start to change a little. At the beginning of the video, when you look at Maurice, he looks normal, but in this video, as he's being exorcised by Bishop McKenna, he looks a little different. It looks like his face takes on like a burnt-like look. His nose looks like it swells up. Then at one point, you'll see a vertical cut appear on his forehead here, opens up. Then he'll bend over like this, like somebody punched him in the stomach. And I asked Ed about that. So why do they do that? And why is the guy bending over during the exorcism right? And he says, well, that's where the spirit tries to enter, through the solar plexus area. And it's intense pain in that area. Now, a spirit could not just enter you if it want at will. It has to have an invitation of some sort, or you have to have a weak aura. Remember I talked about the aura at the cemetery a little bit to you guys? If you have a chink in your aura, that's where the demonic wants to go. Demonic wants to go towards the weak person. In other words, if you're walking down the street and you're walking with Mike Tyson next to you, right? And you're a little girl. You're walking down the street. A guy wants to rob somebody. Is he going to pick Mike, or is he going to pick the little girl, the young girl, or the old lady? They pick the weak one. Same thing with demonic. If you have a strong spirituality, strong aura, without any chinks in it, it won't get to you. But if you have something that degraded that aura, it could be mental illness, like we talked about. It could be heavy drug use. It could be an aversion to anything religious. You never even thought about God. You don't pray to God. You're a dysfunctional person. You're an argumentative type of a person. Something weakened that aura on you. That's when it attacks. So something was weak in Maurice's aura for that diabolical spirit to get through. And then you'll hear the priest ask Maurice. He'll say, Maurice, do you feel anything inside of you? At first he won't answer. Then you'll hear Maurice at one point say, I am what I am, when the priest presses him. And then the priest at some point will also say, how many are you? Like wanting to know how many entities are within Maurice. You'll hear him clearly say, the only one, which meant one spirit in him. The priest will whisper to him something in Latin, and Maurice will instantaneously answer him in Latin. You'll have to listen, it's a whisper, but he says something in Latin to the priest, and we deciphered it as being the stupendous one. And he said, who are you in Latin? And then at the very end of this, you'll see Maurice's eyes just roll back in his head, and all you'll see are the whites of his eyes as he goes back into the chair. It's a real exorcism. It's not Hollywood hype. It's not made up. It's not staged. It's real. This is how it happened. So I'm going to shut up now and I'll let him play it.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's in the right hand. Watch. Lift up the front really good. Lift up the front. See it up in the shoulder? Yeah. Move. Yeah, you're in the way, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. How about the front?
Not this fast.
Maurice, right underneath your chest, Maurice. That's right there. No, it's a cross mark. It's a cross. Definitely a cross. Turn it off. Look at this one, Father. Yeah, we can. Maurice? Oh, that's a definite cross. Where's the cross? Point it out to me, Maurice. I want to make sure I have the right one. Right there, right? Did that just show up, Maurice? Did that just show up yesterday? I just looked at only one light, that was two. Yeah. It was just one like this and this was two. Can you turn around and get in here? About right over here. About right over here.
This is the exorcism part right here. You'll see the spittle come out of his mouth.
Marie, you feel anything inside you? Marie?
Maurice is spirit.
This is not in form. Spirit of the Monday. And did you enter? How did you enter? When did you enter? Almighty God will create and answer my questions. Since undergone the use of commandments of God.
Now, he was actually properly exorcised according to Tony, but unfortunately he began to dabble in some dark practices again, and he would start to feel this coming back on. So he would call Ed and tell Ed that he felt something coming back on, and Ed would drive over there and help him get him back to a good white light space. This is where I'm going to place the next trigger warning. This is very dark. It does have to do with suicide. So if that is triggering to you, please click off of this video right now. I don't want to trigger any of you, but I think that it's a very important part of the story to share nonetheless. So I'm going to roll that clip now.
He'd calm him right down. But one night, Ed was coming back from a lecture that he and Lorraine had done out of state. They got home about 2:30 in the morning. Ed looks and he sees the answering machine blinking. He listens to the message. It's Maurice, same thing. Ed, he's called himself Frenchie, because he's from French Canada originally. Ed, it's Frenchie, you gotta come up. I can feel something building up. I'm gonna do something bad. So Ed says to Lorraine, I'm exhausted. I can't go up there. Let me just call him back and find out what's wrong, and I'll try to talk to him. So he calls Maurice's phone number. Maurice didn't answer, but the Warren Police Department did. And here's what Ed found out happened. Maurice did almost the exact same thing that his father had done 20 years before. And I'm not talking about the bestiality. I'm talking about when Maurice was an adult, father went out to Colorado to visit Maurice's brother, who's a cop in Colorado. He went with his wife. Maurice's mother and father went out there. The father was in the son's living room, stood up, walked into the bedroom, saw the son's gun belt hanging in the closet, grabbed the revolver out of it, walked back into the living room, pointed at his wife, Maurice's mother, pointed at his wife, shot her in the head and killed her, and turned the gun on himself and shot himself and killed himself. That's Maurice's dad. When Ed called back that night, here's what happened. Maurice took a 12-gauge shotgun, shot it towards his wife Nancy, who was sitting on the couch, blew her arm right off. She started to bleed to death. He said, "You see what you made me do?" And he turned the gun around, put it in his mouth, and pulled the trigger and blew his head off, Maurice. She survived. She somehow crawled to a neighbor's house, and they called EMS, and they saved her life. But it was a tragic ending to a case of diabolical possession. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, the devil wins out. Sometimes people aren't strong enough. We learned later on that he did dabble again after that exorcism in occult practices, which was his undoing. That Maurice, the real Maurice case, was kind of incorporated into The Conjuring 1, where you saw the exorcism of that man. That was Maurice. And in The Nun, at the end, when you saw Lorraine struggling with his man, that was the Maurice case, the Maurice the farmer from The Nun. So yes, they were both incorporated into those movies. That's the real Maurice you just saw.
Is that not just so horrifying and so chilling and so heartbreaking? I was pretty sad to hear that it ended that way, but it's also a true testament to keeping your energy high, keeping your vibration high, and keeping your faith high. Now we're gonna end showing these clips on a lighter note, and that is to do with a poltergeist that Ed Ward actually captured on tape. I think it's so exciting to share this with you guys. As you guys know, like, I've dove into Ed and Lorraine Warren cases for so long, so to see exclusive footage is just so cool to me. And I knew that no matter how dark some of it was, I really wanted to share it with you guys. So this right here is Ed capturing a poltergeist.
The next one, though, is moving table and chairs in West Haven, Connecticut, which isn't too far from here. Ed was at a haunted location, a poltergeist case, and this poltergeist was bothering the little girl. She'd be trying to do her homework and the chair would move by itself, push her away from the chair, the table would move. So Ed set up a static camera. Now this is in the 90s also. He set up a camera, pointed it at the round table in the kitchen, and he used what's known as religious provocation. And what that is asking the spirit, or commanding the spirit in God's name to reveal its identity. Much, much different than challenging a demonic entity. He never challenged anything. Ed, in all his years, never challenged a demonic entity. He would command in the name of Jesus to reveal its identity. So you watch Ed, and at one point you hear Ed sneeze while he's asking. You hear a that's Ed sneezing. But then you'll see the table and chairs actually move on their own volition.
In the name of Jesus Christ and the blood of Christ, I command you to reveal your identity in some way. In the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to reveal your identity.
So that right there was some exclusive exorcism footage from Ed and Lorraine Warren, and exclusive poltergeist footage that Ed captured. And I really wanted to share this with you guys. I really wanted to take the time to make it into a whole other video as lengthy as these are, because I just felt like you guys would really enjoy to see this. So let me know in the comments below what you guys thought. I know this is a little bit darker than anything that I've shown on my channel before, but like I said, because it was Ed and Lorraine Warren, I really wanted to share these exclusive videos with you guys. Once again, thank you so much, Warner Brothers Canada, for this incredible opportunity. I've really enjoyed the response to these videos, and I just am so humbled and appreciative for the experience. Make sure that you guys go and see Annabelle Comes Home in a theater near you. Like I said, I will have a link down in the description. And thank you so much, Warner Brothers, for sponsoring today's video. If you guys are new to my channel, or you are just not yet subscribed, but you do enjoy my videos, please, please, please go ahead, click that subscribe button. Also go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up. And yeah, remember, my loves, do all things with kindness. And until next time, I love you guys.